Hey guys, and welcome to my Ww1 video. I hope you really like it. I procrastinated a long time on it. Sorry about that, but here is the video. So, how World War I started is that a general from the Serbian army shot the Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary. This caused the tension between Austria-Hungary and Serbia to break, and Austria-Hungary to declare war on Serbia and Montenegro. Then Russia, feeling honor-bound, declared war on Austria-Hungary. Then the German Empire, who had an alliance with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia. France had an alliance with Russia, so they joined on Russia's side. And that is how World War I started. I hope you really liked the video, and those are the beginning powers of this great war. A shot from the Serbian general would leave millions of people dead in these 4 years. In the Western Front, the Germans were stopped at Lorraine because it was heavily fortified by the French, and they couldn't get past it. So instead, they declared war on Belgium to try to get past the heavily defended area and attack Paris and defeat it. But Belgium had an ally in Britain. Britain joined the war because they had a defense pact with Belgium. This was another world superpower against Germany and a very big oversight by the Germans. And this war is now looking more of a toss-up than it originally seemed. The Belgians hold a very good defense, but eventually their country does collapse, and then a heavy German offensive almost reaches Paris, but is stopped by a nearby river. But a very desperate counterattack by the Allies are able to push back the Germans, and then it gets entrenched. On the Eastern Front, Russia is able to hold a stalemate with the two Central Powers, Austria-Hungary and Imperial Germany, even though being weaker than Imperial Germany. Later, it is able to capture the northern part of Austria-Hungary, but still takes severe losses in some major battles against Imperial Germany. Russia is also a nation with lots of riots and protests coming along due to the communists. In World War I, there are massive naval battles, mostly between the British Empire and Imperial Germany. And the British Empire is the strongest naval power, but is contested by German U-boats, which are submarines with very strong missiles. The Ottomans have joined the Central Powers in 1914, and they're able to hold the line against Russia because of the Caucasus Mountains being very hard to pass and being naturally impenetrable. Japan has joined the Allies on the Atlantic Front, and so has the British Commonwealth, including Australia and New Zealand. Japan is able to take out Germany's colonial holdings in China, and the Oceanic British Commonwealth, Australia and New Zealand are able to take out Germany's colonies elsewhere in the Atlantic. In the Western Front, trench warfare has ripped open both sides to many severe casualties, but the German Empire still holds less casualties than the Allies because they are more prepared. This quick war that Germany thought they're going to win easily has turned into a brutal battle for who can live longer, and so the war of attrition has begun. In the Eastern Front, Germany is making many advances against Russia, and they are able to almost take Warsaw, but Austria-Hungary is still losing. Germany still goes forward, and Russia is pushed a little out of Austria-Hungary, but this war is going to be flipped to the other side as Germany is able to capture Warsaw and Austria-Hungary is able to kick Russia out of its northern territory. This is a big loss for Russia, but this is a stalemate that will be held. In the Ottoman Empire, or the Middle Eastern Front, they are losing to Russia and lost a bit of their northern territory, and through the years they'll lose even more of their northern territory to Russia. But they're also having a stalemate with Britain, as Britain controls Egypt. Italy joins on the Allies' side, but starts losing against Austria-Hungary and barely being able to hold a stalemate, even though severing mass casualties and losing lots of major battles. With Bulgaria joining the Allies, they hold a new front that Serbia and Montenegro have to hold, but they can't hold it for long, and almost immediately all their sides come crashing in. Bulgaria, Austria, Hungary both come crashing in, and the countries are forced to fight in Greece and Albania. But eventually, through lots of struggle, the countries capitulate and lose, only small regiments holding out. This is huge for the war, and this is a turning point. In the Ottoman Empire's northern front, they are losing to the Russian Empire, with the Russian Empire gaining a lot of northern Ottoman territory, and the Ottomans literally freezing in the winter and dying. In the southern front of the Ottoman Empire, they are still losing to the British. In the western front is basically still the same, with lots of costly trench warfare, and with Imperial Germany having less casualties than the Allies. But there is an especially big battle at the place of Verdun, with France trying to protect the area. So the British, feeling bad for the French and trying to alleviate some pressure on Verdun, create the Battle of the Somme, which is another costly battle. That leads the Russian Empire to cause their own battle to alleviate pressure from the Western Front. Speaking of the Eastern Front, the Russian Empire is still losing and dealing with heavy casualties, even though they are winning a bit in the Austrian-Hungarian front. In the Italian front, the Italians are still losing to the Austrian-Hungarians, but they're able to hold a better stalemate this time and aren't losing as bad as last year. Romania joins the war on the Allies' side, and for the start of it, Romania is able to hold a pretty good stalemate with the Central Powers. But eventually, over time, they lose, and this just opens another gateway for the Central Powers to leak into Russia. In Russia, the people's unrest finally shone through, and then they were able to overthrow the Tsar. 300 years of Romanov rule would come to an end. This would be huge because Russia was now a new country under a democratically elected assembly. Imperial Germany sent a telegram to Mexico trying to get them to declare war on the U.S. Germany did this so that the U.S. would stay out of joining the Allies, but the British Empire intercepted this message and sent it to the U.S. This caused the U.S. to join the war on the Allies' side, but the U.S. troops wouldn't appear because they had to travel overseas, and would only appear in 1918. Germany thought this war was going to be over in a couple of months with their Schlieffen Plan, but now it had lasted multiple years, and with Germany being a very poor nation because of World War I, The tides were turning, and it looked as if the Allies might win this worldwide war. Greece joined the Allies. This gave the Allied powers a new front in the Balkans, one that they had lost in 1916. This front would allow the Allied powers to invade the rest of the Balkans. The provisional government would only last 9 months, until there was another armed revolution, with Lenin and other Bolshevik leaders rising up and storming St. Petersburg and eventually taking over the provisional government and installing their own Bolshevik government. Brazil, Liberia, Siam, and China would join on the Allies' side due to the aggression of German U-boats. China would be a key player because of their large pool of manpower, and they were really helpful in the Middle Eastern front. In the Middle Eastern front, the UK, being unsuccessful with the invasion of Baghdad, got help from some rebellious Arab groups to take Baghdad. This was a very bad position for the Ottoman Empire, as they were also losing their Egyptian front. Russia had very big military losses in their Eastern Front and also their Ottoman front that they were winning. And due to the Bolsheviks' government's plan for peace, they finally gave the people peace and surrendered. They had to give up lots of land and turn them into sovereign countries, and also had to give up a lot of coal and manpower. The U.S. troops finally arrive in the Allied Western Front. This is huge because it gives the Allies a lot more manpower that the U.S. can supply, and they start pushing back the Germans after 3 to 4 years of being entrenched. This is a big turning point. The Central Powers, being very poor and lacking the manpower to keep the war ongoing, start to break. The first one to break is Bulgaria, leaving the war. Then Austria-Hungary leaves the war. Then the Ottoman Empire loses the war. And finally, Germany signs an armistice and leaves the war. In the post-war war of World War I, the Central Powers have to pay reparations. The Austrian-Hungarian Empire is dismantled into different ethnic Balkan states, and also the Ottoman Empire loses lots of land and turns into the Republic of Turkey, while Bulgaria has nothing done to it, while the German Empire loses lots of land and is turned into the Republic of Germany. In the war, the Allies promised the Arab rebellious groups a new big Arab state that they could run, but behind the scenes, the UK and France had been planning to split up the Arab region, which after the war ended, they split up the Arab region, disobeying their previous trust that they had with the Arab groups. That was my World War I video. I hope you really liked it, and I hope to post more videos soon. The next video is actually going to be about the Crusades, so wait for that. Like and subscribe if you actually like this video, even though it's pretty poor quality, and I'll try to enhance the quality. And if you ask how I'm recording this, it's under a blanket. Yeah. Bye.